Hi, welcome to A Word with Kellie ScottReed. We're here with Travis Cravey this evening. How are you, Travis?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for
Where are
having
you
me.
coming? Hey, you're welcome. Where are you coming to us from?
I'm in beautiful Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Amish country, if you're into such things. I'm not. Uh, Fucking carriages and their horses and stuff are just royal pain in the ass, but it's beautiful farmland stretching as far as the eye can see and so forth and so on.
That's awesome. We live in near Penn Yan, which is also Amish
Oh,
as well.
so
So
sorry.
we know driving down the road
Oh
really, really slow.
my God. Oh my God. I just, it's if you're going to be in a cult, fine, but like get a car or a bus pass. Get off my fucking road. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I'm a little bitter about the Amish. I'm not gonna lie. I'm straight
That's
up
okay.
not a fan.
Yeah, that's okay. They won't see this. So
Very true.
so I think we're okay.
All right.
Well, I'm so thankful you're here. The first time I came across your work is Tiffany, our editor in chief here at the Rough and Yaw, brought Manifold
Cool.
into our workplace
Well,
and
thank you, Tiffany.
and kind of handed it to us and was like, "Get ready, you've got to read this."
Oh wow. Well, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and it really did blow us away. I just would love to know how Manifold came to be.
The entirety you're
The
talking about?
entirety. Yeah.
Sure. So I had this was summer of 2020, and the individual, I mean, Damon McKinney, I guess he did me a favor, so I'm not like bad mouthing him. I guess I can name him. He was at the time the managing editor of Emerge, uh, ELJ Editions, which is the like press version of the Emerge Journal. And I had seen they had a call out, and I had no belief whatsoever that I was prepared for it. And he emailed me and it's like, "I'd love to see your stuff. You got like a week." I was like, "Oh shit, a week. Well, that seems doable because I'm an idiot and I don't understand how these things operate. So a week seems perfect." And I threw it together. I threw a version of it together, and they were very, very good to me, and chose it as one of their 2021 selections. And then over the course of the next year, I fiddled with it and added some stories and removed some stories and wrote some stories just for it. For example, I didn't know that it's normal practice to have like 50% new material. I was like, fuck, I don't know. Whatever I write, I publish because I just need that dopamine, man. I'm not waiting on shit. So, so they were like, "Yeah, do you have anything new?" I was like, "No." Like, "Can you have something new?" I'm like, "Yes." And yeah, so I wrote some pieces for it. Actually, some of my favorite pieces I wrote under time, stress, and duress. And but yeah, and so I just got very lucky, and they've been extremely good to me. In fact, I have my next book will be out in April 23 with Emerge again. So yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of theirs as much as they might possibly be a fan of mine.
Oh,
So
that's amazing. Now, do you have a title for your next work that's coming out?
yeah, so here's a good story. Yeah, let me say this is a good story. Forget those other stories. This one's good. No, I have no idea if it's. I think it's a good story. Who the hell am I? What an arrogant asshole. So I a long time ago, I've been wanting to do this like travel log, like John Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie is one of my favorite books, and that's nonfiction. I wanted to write something approaching a fictionalized version of that, and I have several pieces already published and sitting on my computer that work towards this narrative of a Western road trip, which I'm from the West and I love the West, and everything about what I do and say is Western in some respect. Western United States. I came up with this title, Western Road Trip Erotica, because it's not erotica in the sense of like porn.
Yeah.
There was like a hand job, I think, in one of the stories, but other than that, like nothing. But it was just this lust for the open road, which when I was a kid, where I grew up, I could drive like a long way without seeing anybody. And it was very meditative because you had nothing to do. You have, I mean, it's from Western Texas and it's just flat. It's not really flat, but that's how you kind of imagine it, is flat.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see for 6-7 miles ahead in every direction, ahead and every direction. And so nothing like sneaks up on you. So you have time to just like sit back and think about things. And there's just, whenever you get frustrated, angry, emotional of any kind, you just hit the road. And you could drive for an hour without seeing another person. And you had time to calm down and relax and reflect and whatever fucking word you want to use. And there was like this lust for it, because where I am now, and in most of the United States, it's like 2 miles to the next town.
Mm-hmm.
And you never really leave any town ever. There's no like open spaces where I am anyway. There's farmland, but you can see the house and you can see the next house and the next. Right. And so Western Road Trip Erotica was originally going to be the title. I was super stoked for that. So it turns out, little publishing secret here, they don't like the word erotica in their literary books.
Oh, that's disappointing. I love the name of that book.
I'm holding on to it. Someday when I'm fucking famous, I'm gonna be like, you know what? You're gonna publish this and you're gonna like it. So fuck off, peasant. But so like that was supposed to be the title. And then at the very last minute, Emerge got a hold of me. It's like, that's a no-go. That is strictly a no-go. And I was in the middle of writing a story that's still ongoing. That's definitely going to be in the book. Well, it is now, because I named the book after the story. So long answer to get to here is it's going to be called Sweet River, Texas, which is I have this kind of fictionalized place. I hate to say this, but I stole the idea. So I'm not trying to say that I'm like him. Mm-hmm. I just flat out stole the idea from Faulkner. And I'm just making up a place that is got all the aspects of everything I know from Texas in one county area. And the river that goes through it is Sweet River, which does not exist in real life. And so that's my next project, is I'm writing a whole Sweet River, Texas suite. But
okay, so short stories, poetry, combination.
This is going to be Sweet River, Texas. The piece is going to be novella length. I don't think there's any way around that. And so I'm probably going to have that and maybe like 4 or 5 stories. So I'm looking at like maybe between 30 and 40,000 words, which, I'll go back to Steinbeck because I just happen to know this offhand and I'm not sure why. But The Pearl is 23,000 words. It's considered, a classic novella. And so I was told to shoot for 25 because that's what there's some other press thing where if it's 25,000 words, it can have a spine and then you can put it in various places it couldn't go before, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. So that's what I was shooting for. And as I've written and revised, Sweet River does not get shorter. Every revision seems to add. And so at some point I'm going to be like, you know what? This is going to be part 1, I guess, because I don't know what to do with these fucking people. And then I was like, well, these people can go elsewhere and live in other stories. And that's what I'm hoping to do. And so right now I'm cutting out parts that are good, but really not the main narrative, and trying to set them aside again to kind of build this. Can I say Faulkner-esque? Am I a completely arrogant asshole if I say Faulkner-esque? Okay, good. That kind of thing where I have this place that's I can always go to without family members calling me going, what the fuck are you doing to us? So
exactly. Yeah. Well, speaking of like the reader, do you balance making demands of the reader, and also taking care of the reader. Like when you're writing something, how do you approach the book? With if I make any sense there?
Yeah, absolutely. And um, Ambrose Bierce, one of my favorite stories by him, one of my favorite stories, period, is Chickamauga, which is the story of the Battle of Chickamauga from the Civil War, told from a perspective of a maybe 6-year-old deaf boy. And the battle is happening around his farm, but he doesn't know because he can't hear it. And the way it makes a lot of demands of the reader. And this is from like 1885 or something. And it's the more modern than any story I can think of offhand. I'm sure that I'm poorly read, so I'm sure someone knows plenty of stories more modern. But there's something about it that's just, he makes heavy demands on the reader because you don't understand what's happening. And he doesn't tell you. You just got to go with it. So I would say that as much as any of my stories can be confusing, which they seldom are, because I'm not really that kind of storyteller, I have a lot of respect for the people who spend the 10 minutes it takes to read one of my stories, or I try to. I try not to spoon feed. I try not to be purposely vague either, though, because that's kind of dickish. I mean, not everything has to be Twin Peaks. I'm not writing a mystery novel. It's a story about, I don't know, a guy getting a hand job in a car. It's kind of hard to muddle those waters. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like, I try not to tell people what a character is feeling or really, because just like in real life, when you walk into a room and you can tell if something's going on in the room just from the way everybody's sitting, the way they're looking, either at you or not at you, where they're looking. I mean, you can read a room, you really can. And you may not know, you don't know the specifics. So why is my guy, trying to get this prostitute into his car? I don't actually tell you. It doesn't really matter. You'll figure out some reason, because if I've done my job right, and I don't always, but if I've done my job right, you know this guy. And I say guy, but it could be anybody, because
anyone.
Right. The motivating factor is a more human, not gender specific. But if I've done it right, then you're like, yeah, I've been there. Maybe not exactly there. Maybe, I don't know, none of my business, but I know what's going on right now. I get it. I haven't told you anything if I do it right. And I don't always.
But you do it right a lot, because my favorite kind of writing is writing that I will sometimes, for example, in television writing, if I'm watching something and I feel pandered to or over-explained, or they think the audience is stupid and the audience is me. So I feel like, so I always love the stuff that does less over-explaining and shows through either emotion, how things are said. I really love that. And when you're someone like me who has a very short attention span, it's really tough to sometimes for me to get through nitty gritty that doesn't necessarily have to be there.
And this is the thing that, this is the pro and con of Flash, which is my favorite form thus far. I've yet to write a novel, so maybe that'll be my favorite form. But Flash is, I don't have time to spoon feed you. I really don't. I have maybe 1,000 words. And if it's a good story, which is really my goal is a good story. I don't give a shit what you take from it, if you take anything from it. I don't care if you treat it like a Schwarzenegger action movie and, oh, that was just fun and I'm done with it and I'll never think of it again. It's not my problem. What I want is for you to read the whole thing because you liked it. You like it. It's going and you're like, wow, I wonder where this goes. But I only have this much room. I can't, this is something that drives me crazy, and it's very, I'm probably gonna piss someone off. It's very popular. A very popular style right now is kind of what I call flowery writing, and everything is, it's not just a room. You have to have 16 adjectives to describe the room, and then every aspect of the room has to be described. And how does it smell, and what kind of flowers are in it, and all that. And it has a place. It really does. But if it does not move me in the story, then I don't care for it. And it's not going to show up in my story. If I tell you something smells like something, it's because you need to know that. I may not tell you why you need to know that, but I guarantee you I didn't do it on accident. It's on purpose. And I don't mean to say that people who write, and very popular, a lot of journals, man, they specifically, that's what people want to read. And fine, God bless them. That's not what I want to read. But they spend so much time that there's hardly enough room for a story, to me. Or worse for me, because like you, my attention span is just shot to hell. Well, it's not even that. It's just I don't have time to fuck around. I got shit to do. And if I get lost in trying to figure out what color the curtains were and wondering if I need to remember that, well, then fuck it. I'm going to move on to a different story. You know what I mean? I got a whole big collection of Hemingway that'll just feed me exactly what I want right now. And then I'll just move on. I don't, that's just me. And again, the pendulum swings. Some of my favorite authors wrote more. See, when I say wrote more like I do, that sounds like an asshole. I don't mean that. I mean that I copy them more than they copied me, obviously, because they're dead. But and those people write boom, boom, boom. We moved through this room. We don't need the wallpaper. Maybe it had it, maybe it don't. I don't know. We have to go. We have something to do here. We have to go over here to look at this stuff, to get to the story, to understand what I want to tell you. If it's important,
Travis, that's so weird that you're saying this. It's just because one of my questions to you is going to be, what authors are your friends and how do they help you become a better version of yourself?
So I have many. Well, there's a lot of people, let's say Litwit, because that's kind of where we're at. And I don't say that derogatorily. That's a big word that Travis doesn't know. I don't say it in a bad way. I just mean that that's where we're coming from. I love Twitter. But there's a lot that I really get a ton from, even if their style is not ever going to be my style, or I can't imagine myself writing in their style. Some of the best writers I've ever read, are on Twitter that I've discovered through Twitter, I should say. I'm not going to name any because I have several, and then no one's going to know whether they're one of the people who writes the way I hate or not. So I'm just going to say there's several. There's several.
Also, you don't want to forget anybody.
Yeah, well, that's true too. But there are some that, I mean, I'm just saying, you go through my Twitter feed, when one of my favorite authors writes something, you hear about it from me, because I don't hesitate blasting it, because the shit's good. It's just, and some of those people, it's always good. It's never, there's no weak links to me. Whereas I can name several of my weak links that I wish I had never put out there. They don't, maybe they would too, but God, they're just so damn good. And I wouldn't say that I emulate their style. I try to emulate their rhythm. I'm an absolute fanatic when it comes to reading out loud before I hit send anywhere. And especially dialogue. I had a conversation with someone just the other day about this. I'll act it out with like my hands as puppets. Because as an adult, well, you should as an adult know when something's bullshit, when someone's talking to you. We've all had salesmen try to sell us shit, and we just have a radar. It's like evolutionary whatever. We're like, you're full of shit. And I've written lots of dialogue where when I acted it out and it looks so silly, I'm like, that's bullshit. No one would say that. No one would believe that. No one would use that as their reasoning and excuse alibi, whatever, and I can change it. But overall, I do read everything out loud. Everything gets read out loud, and that's been a lifesaver for me. I think my writing's gotten a lot stronger since. And I'm a huge fan of just reading things out loud in general. I do poetry readings out loud. I just stories. That's how they started. You know, when I was a kid, believe it or not, I almost said, you know, in Plato's time, and then go straight to my time as if they were, you know, closely connected. I'm not quite that old, but when I was a kid, we'd go camping or hunting. Every year we went hunting, and the old men sat around. The old men, they were my age, sat around the campfire and told, you know, bawdy stories and dirty stories, and made each other laugh and stuff. And the kids, me, we just sat there and listened, and that's how it's supposed to be. I think books are handy. They're really cool because we have so many people that we can't all sit around a campfire together and tell dirty stories. But so we need them. But at the end, I remember conversations with people, even if I don't remember the story, you remember the story of the story, you know. And I think that's more important to me. Anyway, I kind of off track there.
Oh no, that's all right. When did it translate from oral to written for you? Like, was this something you always, you know?
Well, I learned how to write last year, and I learned my alphabet, and so that was. No, I'm kidding.
No, you know.
I know. I'm just fucking with you. It just sounded like, when did you learn how to read? Because we're all unsure whether that happened or not. No, I've always been the guy. I always tell the joke. Well, I did a presentation for a automotive tech class where the teacher was very kind to be using my book in his business communication class, which I don't know how he swung that, but God bless him. But they asked me to come and speak to the class. We'll come Zoom and speak to the class. And I start off by saying, you know, no one, if you go to a bar, no one wants to sit with the person. I'll say guy because I'm a guy. No one wants to sit with the guy who's quiet because he's just fucking boring. And so what do? You sit in a big group and you try to outstory each other, you know, or if you're supportive and nice, then you try to support each other's stories. But I've never been to those kind of places. But you know, and so I was always that guy. You go to a bar with me, and I'm going to tell you something, and some of it may be true. I don't know. We'll see how the night goes, but we're going to tell stories together. And you know, when I got hurt, I got injured on the job a few years ago in 2018, and was stuck at home, and didn't have anything else to do. Literally ran out of ideas of things to do. And Netflix did not have Tiger King yet, so I couldn't get lost into the beautiful world of that. And Red Dead Redemption was already 2 months old, and so I finished it. And I had nothing to do for 6 weeks, and so I started reading. And I read that Ambrose Bierce story for the first time, and someone had gifted me years before that I'd barely cracked open, the collected stories of Hemingway, which, regardless of the man, the stories are amazing. I don't really care for his novels, but his short stories are amazing. And I read those, and I was reading, and at some point I was like, I could do this. And then I thought, well, just do that then. Stop being an asshole. And one of these, yeah, I could do that, you know. So I did. I wrote a story that ended up in Manifold in like 2 weeks shy of my 47th birthday. And yeah, it was Jackrabbit. And I liked it. I liked how it felt to do it. I liked the having it there, sitting there with it, and knowing everything about it, which in a way I'd never done with something I'd read, because you don't know, because you didn't create it, so you don't know everything about it. But I also liked that it was almost three-dimensional, because I knew the surface of it, but I could turn it and I could see facets of it that no one else will ever see. And then some things that I didn't even notice when I did it. And each time I can go back and look and say that's it's like one of those stupid fucking rocks you always bring to show and tell when you're a kid. Geode, right?
The geodes
right?
that you find that you open up are gorgeous. Yeah,
exactly. And you just keep turning it, and it just changes every time you turn it. But it's always the same rock, and that's how I feel about a lot of my stories. Unfortunately, not all of them, but a lot of them. But I love that. And then when I sent it off to get, when I figured out what publishing was and what submitting was and what magazines were, and that the computer made this a lot easier than what I imagined. I imagined going off to the post office, which I just would never have written. I just would like, yeah, it's fine. I'll show it to my grandkids or something. Fuck this. I don't really have time to go to the post office. When I did all that and then it got accepted, well, the acceptance was like fucking, sex on drugs, on top of the Giza pyramid. It was like, I was like, oh, that's the greatest thing that's ever happened. And I want that to happen all the time. How to go about that? Well, I guess I have to write more stories. And then, of course, as I wrote, I began to love the process. And I hate to say craft because I don't feel like I've earned the right to use that word, but the craft of actually constructing a story and so forth. And it's just gotten so far better and better. We'll see.
Do you recognize yourself? Do you recognize yourself in those stories, or does it feel like you're a stranger? Like sometimes I read things that I wrote many years back and I've changed through those stories and through other things. I read back and I go, who wrote that? Do you have that feeling at all, or do you recognize it?
Well, so I'll first of all say, because I'm so new to it, I don't have that feeling ever, because the oldest story is 4.5 years old. It's not like, my God, those were the days, huh? 2018, before cars and airplanes. But I will say, I remember this quote on Twitter I saw a long time ago, and I've always loved it. And it's an essayist will write something and lie like hell to make you believe it's true. And a fiction writer will write something and lie like hell to make you believe it's not. And so the Manifold is autobiographical. It really is. I am in every character, especially the main characters. Everyone, even if I've never been in those situations, I know myself as well as at this point in my life I can. And there are stories that no one will ever see because they're too close to the bone. You know what I mean? But they're all me. Even if I didn't want to, even if, there's a book in there called Sutton County Drive, which is about a woman running away from, I don't tell you what, with her kids. Mm-hmm. And it's told from the POV of the kid, but the kid is me. And the mom sure as shit is me. And they're all me. The kid who what's his pants in that story is fucking me. They're all me. Maybe different times, maybe different aspects, maybe parts of me that fight with other parts of me. But yeah, I wish sometimes I wish I could write something that, that I didn't see myself in, because if nothing else, I would feel like I had been more original than I have been before. Because I don't keep a journal. I'm of an age and time and place where we don't keep journals. That's not something we do. And so this is as close as I'm going to get as telling strangers who I am. Yeah, if that answers your question.
Yeah, and the strangers love you, because I really think that when you were mentioning the story, that's one of the ones that we talked about at work, like that we kind of went, oh my God, because it really, it was I felt very nervous reading the story, mm-hmm. because I was a kid who grew up with parents who were lovely, but not, but very, very young. kind of wrapped up in themselves, a lot of different things, and just kind of feeling like I was the adult, the adult in the family dynamic.
Sure.
I still
Sure.
do. So when there was a bit of anxiety because I could really relate to the point of view
Yeah.
of the kid. So it was really effective.
Well, I appreciate that. It was hard to write because I wasn't sure how to end it because I say that story, but I mean those feelings from those three perspectives, and has ended and continues to end in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I ended it in the way that made the most sense, is to come to an understanding of myself that there are parts of life and parts of history and parts of me that I'll never fully own, even if I know them. And so it ends with her saying, you know, none of this will ever be ours. And what she's pointing at, I know what she's pointing at. The story, it says, I don't know, the land or whatever, but there's just parts that are just not, I have to accept that things, you know, if something happened when I'm 6, at 51, there's fuck all I can do about it. It's done. It's done. And the people who did it are dead. So, you know, this will never be mine. It will never be rationalized, justified, explained, fixed, closed. It's done. It's gone. You know, I should just be unhappy about Pearl Harbor. The fuck? Why not? You know, God damn it. Right. Pearl Harbor, come on.
A friend of mine gave me some advice. He said that some things in life are problems and others are conditions. With a problem, you can solve it. With a condition, you have to live with it.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the hardest thing, right? Is deciding which is it at any given time. Because, you know, if it's a problem and I decide it's a condition, that's bad. That's bad, not just for me. That could be bad for lots of people. You know, that could turn out rough. And if it's a condition, I decide it's a problem, then I'm going to waste a lot of fucking time, which I have done over various things in my life. Oh, we all have. But yeah, it's just time. Sometimes it's time to tell yourself, this is the best you can do with what that was. It could be good or bad. It could be great or just awful. But it is. And so you just kind of push on, you know, keep on keeping on.
Travis, you're like giving me a philosophy.
Keep on trucking. And then you have that big foot. You know that guy?
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm going to get my new trucker hat.
Get that tattooed on my neck. Right? Keep on trucking.
Awesome. Do you have anything?
There's your philosophy.
Yeah, exactly. I love the philosophy. Do you have anything you're working? Well, you are working on your new book, but anything else you're reading, doing, any other media that we can read, that people can find you, so that when they see the interview, they can see more of you?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I have been told many times to get my own website. And it's kind of like going to a post office, except on my computer. So just, I don't see that happening. That seems like a lot of work. So no, in a way, I don't know where to tell people to go to find me, which is probably bad. But
Twitter,
yeah, God knows, you will find me more often than not. Let's say, let's be generous and positive. More often than not, you'll find them on Twitter. But I also have, I think it's going to be released 1st of November. Don't quote me, but Gritlit anthology. Gritlit's like my thing. That's my genre or whatever that I prefer to call my stuff, if it's got to be called something. And Emerge asked me to edit an anthology of 3, they call them novelettes, which I'd never heard the phrase before, but I haven't heard a lot of phrases before. So I just like, all right, novelettes. But they're about, I don't know, between 10 and 12,000 word stories, 3 of them together, that's going to be coming out again, believe in early November, that I had chosen and edited. And they're just amazing stories. You know, I'll have an introduction written to it, but otherwise, my only like claim to fame with it is that I chose them out of the many I received, and they're damn good. And I hope people will buy that. It's called Almost Home. That was the prompt. I had a picture of the house my mother was born in, which my grandfather had built and has been derelict for like 50, 60 years. But I have a picture of it from recently, from maybe 10 years ago, and it's still basically standing. And I said, almost home. And that's your prompt. Write your stories and send them to me. And just got some amazing stories. So that I am looking forward to. I have nothing else scheduled this year to be published. I just had a story out in Rec and Review on Monday called Part of the Business. I have tried since 2019 to get 12 stories a year out published. And right now I don't have anything out, anything accepted, anything, but I've already got 9 or 10 stories.
Oh,
So
wow.
I've got a month to play with. So I'm kind of hoping, hoping that it comes around. It's been the summer was not, nothing bad happened, but it just wasn't conducive to writing. I just didn't write. I haven't written in about 3 months, which is weird suddenly, which 5 years ago, if I'd have said I haven't written in 3 months, I'd be like, no shit. you're barely literate. Of course you're not writing, you fucking idiot. But now it's like, whoa, 3 months, my God. So, but I'm hopeful. Always, you never know. You never know when lightning's going to strike. Yeah, that's sort of.
I'm really excited. Yeah, it does, and I'm really excited to see that. I'm excited.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We really appreciate you coming on. Honestly, I was
been great.
Tentative about asking because we are a little starstruck. I'm going to speak for I'm sure they will speak. No, you're wonderful, and I'm so happy that you came. And I really loved listening to what you had to say. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, you're too kind. Obviously, Anyway, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Travis. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.